Hey everybody, and welcome back into another fun and exciting geometry class. Today we are going to talk about the triangle. And we're going to actually do 3 lessons today in this class instead of just one, because I think the 3 lessons really go together and they're not long lessons. So we'll just go ahead and combine them into one video. We are going to be on page number 18. We're going to talk about the triangle. And then we're going to, in the next 2 lessons, we're going to identify triangles. Okay, so let's talk about the triangle, starting here, beginning in page number 18. All right, so we have a picture of a triangle here on the screen, and that triangle is labeled ABC. So this is triangle ABC. Let me show you how we would write that. We draw a little triangle. It's not a very good triangle, a little triangle, and we would call that triangle ABC. Okay. Earlier we did like angle ABC. Okay, so we did that. But now we're going to identify it with the little triangle symbol. Okay, so triangle ABC. All right, so what we after we kind of learn how to label it, let's talk about some different parts to this triangle. So we can talk about these little things right here in the corners. Okay, now we don't always draw these, but they're there. Whether or not we actually draw these on here, and I'm actually going to erase them in just a second. But these little dots, these are called vertices, or one of them is a vertex, but multiple are vertices. Vertices. So you would have, and you could name this differently. You could name this triangle, depending on where you started. You could name it triangle CAB, or triangle CBA, or triangle, let's see, BAC, or triangle BCA. So there's different ways that you can name this triangle, and it's all based on what vertices, where you're starting it from. Now, I want you to think about something. The way I have it right now, it kind of goes like this: A, B, C. That's the triangle. And one of the reasons why I named it that is because AB is it's like the triangle is sitting on AB. Well, and again, it's not always going to be this way, and you can name it differently based on kind of how you turn the triangle. But in this one, the one that we're looking at right now, where AB is on the bottom, we would call this the base. This is the base. And again, we can turn the triangle. We can rotate the triangle. And if we rotate the triangle, we could make BC the base. We could make AC the base. But in this one that we're looking at, the base is AB. Well, because that's the base, that makes this right here what's called the vertex of the triangle. C would be the vertex of the triangle. And probably the best way to write this triangle would be to write it like this: ACB. ACB. And the reason is because we're making C the middle letter, because C is the vertex of that triangle. Now, it doesn't really matter. You could also call it ABC, CBA, CAB. You can name it whatever you want, really. But kind of based on the way it's sitting right now, AB is the base, C is the vertex. And again, we could rotate that thing, and it would change the way it is, the way it's done. So let me go ahead and erase this real quick, and let's talk about a couple other parts of the triangle. Well, one part that we don't really mention very much, we don't really talk about a lot. We talk about these all the time. We talk about these angles right here. Okay, these angles are called, all of these together are called interior angles. And why do you think they're called interior? Because they're inside, okay? They're inside the triangle, so they're interior angles. But those are the ones that we see all the time. Those are the ones that we talk about all the time. But there are actually more angles in this triangle. And you're like, wait a second. They called it a triangle, so there's only three. I understand that. There's only three interiors. But I want you to look at something. What if we extend these lines? So we take this line and we keep it coming here. We could even extend this line and keep it coming here. Extend this line, extend this line. Because these are lines. These are not line segments. They don't necessarily stop at those points. So let's talk about those lines, those extensions that we made. And let's talk about what's called exterior angles. Okay? And so I can put on here, let me label it. We can label this D, this E, this F, this G, this H, and this I. Oh, now we got all kinds of things going on. We just turned a triangle into a crazy mess. I know. Okay, so let's just focus on one thing. But we can do that. We can label all those lines. Let's just focus on D. Let's focus on D. So I'm actually going to erase some of these other ones so we can just put our focus on one of these right now. And so we've just extended line AB, and so now we have line AD with B as a point on the line. And so now our line is AD, and I want you to see something. Notice what I made right here. I made another angle outside. Now that's an obtuse angle. Okay, and so if you notice there's one inside, there's an interior angle there. So B is technically an interior angle, and B could also be an exterior, because look, I got CBD. CBD is an angle. So B can function as an interior, and that would be this one, ACB, or ABC, or an exterior, CBD. Okay, CBD. And that's the angle B, interior and exterior. So let's call this one an exterior. So that one can be interior if it's talking about the inside, or it can be exterior if it's talking about the outside. Notice something there. The exterior of that is what? Well, the exterior of that is an obtuse angle. The interior of that is an acute angle. Okay. Now I want you to think about something with this. Let me get rid of exterior and let's just focus on this for a second. What is this right here? Well, that's a line. And a line equals how many degrees? 180 degrees. Okay? So this is a line. So if we take the interior plus the exterior, what do we get? So if I take this interior plus this exterior, what did I get? I got a line. The interior plus the exterior always equals, that looks like text. Interior text. No, let's do it down here. Interior plus the exterior always equals 180 degrees. Okay. Now that brings me to the next thing, which is in the book it calls it an informal statement. Here's an informal statement. An informal statement says that all triangles have 180 degrees. So this is 180 degrees. All triangles have 180 degrees. So if we add up this, plus this, plus this, so this would be on their interior. Every triangle has 180 interior degrees, and that's very important for you to understand. That's an informal statement, but it is like a law, like a rule that you need to know. Now, if the triangle, so let me actually write this just a little bit differently. All triangles have 180 degrees. Okay, so that's our informal statement. Well, if all triangles have 180 degrees, I want you to see something else. What did I write here? The interior plus the exterior equals 180. So check this out. This exterior angle right here equals this angle A plus angle C. So that would be the interior A plus the interior C equals the exterior of B. That's interesting. It has to, because they all equal 180. The exterior plus the interior, so this guy right here, equals 180. These two together equal 180 because it's a straight line. And if they all have 180 degrees, all triangles, that would mean that this exterior right here, B, is going to equal this plus this. It has to. So, interesting. Different conclusions we can make about triangles. And some of you, that was all like mind-blowing. That's what geometry does. It's supposed to be mind-blowing. And so you're learning new things, and that's okay if you're not understanding it right away. This understanding will come the further we go in geometry, okay? Because we're going to continue to work with this stuff over and over. So let me get rid of some of this stuff, and I want to show you a couple more things, and then we'll move into classifications of triangles. This might be a little bit longer lesson than I planned. Trying to get 3 lessons into one is maybe going to take a little bit longer than I thought. So, all right. So if we go down here, the median, we need to know this vocabulary word. The median is a line from any vertex to the opposite midpoint. So if I go from the, if I make a midpoint here on A, B, what happened to B? Oh, I erased B. Sorry, I put that. So if I make a midpoint here on AB, if I actually measure this and I make a midpoint, now I'm just going to kind of put one here. I'm just going to put a midpoint. We're just going to pretend like that's the midpoint right there. Okay? I didn't measure it. I don't know if it's the midpoint. I'm just putting it there, guessing. Okay? Now you would actually measure it out and figure out the midpoint and all that stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to take the time to do that. And what it says is the median is a line from any vertex to the opposite midpoint. So this is the vertex, and here's the opposite midpoint. Okay, so this line right here would be called, sorry about that, that line right there is called the median. The median. Okay. The next one that I have written down here is the altitude. The altitude, and we'll do this one in green, so it looks a little different than the other one. The altitude is a perpendicular line drawn from any vertex to the opposite side. Now there's a difference between that. This line is not perpendicular. This line is not perpendicular. In other words, it's not straight. A perpendicular line has to be a 90-degree angle. So what we would do in this case is we would draw from this point right here, we would draw a line that is perpendicular or forms a right angle. See the right angle that we form here? Okay. So this one, this line here, is called the altitude. I'll abbreviate that. That's the altitude. So you would see the first one is the median, the yellow one is the median, and the green one is the altitude. Okay, altitude and median right there. And those words are in your book too. So, but I can't. I mean, all of this stuff. I can't stress to you how important all this stuff is in geometry. It's super important that you know all this stuff. Okay, so I'm not telling you any of this stuff, and you just like, oh, okay, whatever, and then you forget it. If you forget it, you're going to struggle all the way through geometry the rest of the class. You need to know this. This is very important information. All right, so real quick, we are going to classify triangles by sides. In a scalene triangle, and this is on page number 20 in your book. Scalene triangles, they have no equal sides. So in other words, okay, this side is 8 inches, this side is 6 inches, and this side is 3 inches. There's no equal sides. They're all different. That's called scalene. Again, you need to memorize that word, scalene. The next one is an isosceles triangle, and this means that two of the sides are equal. So this is 8, and this is 8, and this is 3, for example. I'm just writing random numbers. I haven't measured these. 8, 8, and 3. Notice, I have two equal sides. Technically, it's two or more equal sides. So the next one is called an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangles are also isosceles triangles because it has two or more sides equal. But usually we classify equilaterals as equilaterals, and if it has two, then we classify those as isosceles. So in this case, you would have, 7, 7, and 7. They're all equal. All three sides are equal. So those are the three ways to classify a triangle by its sides. Okay, the last way to identify triangles, and this is on page number 21, lesson 1.12, is to classify them by their angles. And so this one I have down here, this one's called an acute. Acute triangles have three acute angles. So in this case, all three of these angles have to be less than 90. So for example, if this one is 50 and this one is 70, then we know that the other one's going to have to be, so we have 180 minus 120, because these two together equal 120. So this one would have to equal 60 degrees. So in that case, all three of those angles are less than 90. So they're all three acute. They're all three acute. And that's one way to identify triangles by their angle. The other way, or another way, is an obtuse triangle. An obtuse triangle. And here's what that means. It means that one of the angles is obtuse. In this case, this angle right down here is obtuse. This is like 120 degrees. Remember, we only have 180 to work with. So if we subtract 120 degrees, the other two have to equal 60. So maybe this one's 30 and this one's 30. Okay? So in that case, that would be an obtuse triangle. One of the angles is obtuse. One of them is more than 90. The next type is a right triangle, and one of the angles, this one right here, in this case, is 90 degrees. And this one might be 30, and this one might be 60. Okay. Or it could be anything, but they have to equal 180. So this one could be 40, and this one could be 50. As long as they equal 180, then that's fine. I'm just writing random numbers down. I'm not actually measuring these. Okay. So that's a right triangle. One of the angles equal to 90. And the last one to classify by angle is the equiangular. The equiangular. And that means that all three angles are equal. Now, this one's interesting because remember, you're working with 180. And really, if all three have to be equal, then guess what? They all have to equal. They all have to equal the same amount. They all have to be 60. They can't be anything else. If you have a 59-degree angle, it's not equiangular. It can't be. Because if you have all three 59, you're going to come up with only 177 degrees. It's not going to work out, okay, when you add them all up. But you add all these up, 60 plus 60 plus 60, and you're going to get your 180. All right, so that is an equiangular triangle. Equiangular triangle. All right, I believe that is all that I have for you. And Just take the time. If you missed one of those, just scroll back, rewind the video, watch it again. I gave you a lot of information at the beginning. Make sure you know these words, median and altitude, but lots of stuff going on there. So again, 3 lessons into one, but I think you can handle it. All right, we'll see you later. You have a good rest of the day. Bye.